Thank you so much, Dr. Kulshrestha. It's One Place Sports' honor to be broadcasting this international webinar all across the world.
Working out, training hard, of course is required, but it's not enough. Relaxation is absolutely essential.
This international webinar is a wonderful platform to share about Olympic education, Olympic values.
Our experience and expertise to help set up Olympic studies centers based at the university level in India. So, distinguished Honorable Minister of Youth Affairs and Sport, distinguished Chairman of the Committee on Olympic Education, distinguished President of the National Olympic Academy Committee in India, distinguished organizers, distinguished guests, and dear friends. I'm starting my PowerPoint now. So first of all, I would like to say thank you very much for the invitation and congratulations on the international webinar on Olympism and Olympic education. It is my pleasure to deliver this inaugural lecture, and I really look forward to talking about the topic which you can see here on this slide for the next 40-45 minutes. When I have been asked to do this presentation, I agreed immediately. I have been asked to present something on Olympic education and institutions delivering concepts of Olympic education at universities and beyond universities. In order to address this topic, I have chosen the title Olympic Education and its Academic Factories, and I selected for good reasons the Olympic Studies Center of the German Sport University Cologne, and because as I have been introduced, I'm professor there at the Institute of Sport History and the director of the Olympic Studies Center of the German Sport University Cologne. And I also selected the International Pierre de Coubertin Committee, also for good reasons, because I'm the president of the International Pierre de Coubertin Committee, which since 2018, and the International Pierre de Coubertin Committee is a IOC recognized organization. If you understand me quite well, I go on now. Well, Pierre de Coubertin has become so I just received a message. Can you please put your screen on full? I think I've done it. But Pierre de Coubertin has become famous as the founder of the modern Olympic movement. We all know this, but I think we have to acknowledge that Coubertin has been more, or is more than a prominent and influential and first influential sports official. He was a historian, and above all, he was an educator, stressing the value of sport in an educational process. And in this educational process, his idea to reinvent the modern Olympic Games played a major role. But we should keep in mind that Coubertin did not invent the modern Olympic Games simply as an international gathering of athletes organized every 4 years. For Coubertin, the Olympic Games formed only the institutional framework of what he called Olympism, or Olympic idea, till 1910, and after 1910 he referred to this as Olympism. And Coubertin, yes, indeed, and we all agree on this, that the concept of Olympism is a very complex concept, but Coubertin never tired of explaining this concept in articles and speeches. For example, we can refer to his famous speech, The Philosophic Foundations of Modern Olympism, which was broadcasted on a Swiss radio station, a Swiss Romande, in August 1935, and only a few days later it has been published as an article, and since then has enjoyed numerous reprints. Coubertin, already in 1894, when it was decided to re-establish the modern Olympic Games at an international congress in Paris at the Sorbonne University, Coubertin spoke about the then Olympic motto Citius Altius Fortius. Originally, this motto was coined by a friend of Coubertin, Henri Didon. He was a schoolmaster and he coined this motto for a school sport event which he organized. Yes, this motto, this Latin comparative Citius Altius Fortius, this is fundamental for correct understanding of Olympic sport. And this motto has been published in connection with the Olympic rings for the first time in 1914. But ladies and gentlemen, I think we have to be very careful in the interpretation of the motto. Yes, in general, this aims at records. This is completely correct, but we should keep in mind that it is the individual's drive for records. Yeah? So the individual strive to improve, the individual strive to get better from one day to the other, and the individual strive to set up own goals. This is really fundamental for Olympism and for what we can also refer to Olympic education, because Olympic education is a central pillar in the concept of Olympism. Olympic values. Yes, we are talking a lot about Olympic values, and Olympic values are playing a significant role in the Olympic Agenda 2020, which IOC President Thomas Bach developed or introduced to the IOC in December 2014 at an extraordinary IOC session held in Monaco. Yeah, and from this Olympic agenda, which is aiming to coin a sustainable profile of the Olympic movement, Olympic values are playing a significant role. For example, Olympic values are the Olympic movement's livelihood. They're stressing its uniqueness. This is mentioned in the document, or IOC President Thomas Bach never tires of emphasizing this point, calling for society to live Olympism for 365 days a year. And the concept of Olympism is strongly based on values with, at the moment, excellent friendship and respect currently at its core. Yeah? So we have these three values: excellent friendship and respect, and they are clearly reflecting the Olympic movement's fundamental nature. It's stressing its mission to make a significant contribution to the development of society through the use of sport from the top to the grassroots level as an effective tool. And I think that this is really important, that to get a correct understanding of Olympic education. We have these three values. As is often asked, are these values enough? Do we need more Olympic values? We have discussed this at the IOC's Olympic Education Commission 1 or 2 years ago, and we have come to the conclusion that it is possible to perceive these three values as so-called umbrella values under which other values can be collected. So, for example, we can collect individual achievement, orientation, responsibility, integrity under the umbrella value of excellence. We can collect tolerance, loyalty, altruism under the core value of friendship, or we can collect fair play, honesty, responsibility under the umbrella value of respect. We cannot deny maybe there are some issues with the value naming, but we should be careful to explicitly name these subordinated values, which are as this limits one individual interpretation of each of the umbrella values, and this will lead to an unwanted consequence, because this could lead to a public misinterpretation, potentially evoking an impression of the IOC being too normative with the identification of its values. So it's better to stick to these core values as excellence, friendship, and respect. Further, we can claim that listing too many values may also lead to the field losing its shape, that the field is blurred. Yes. And here we have the unwanted consequence as an impression that the IOC has no clear orientation or is too self-confident concerning the impact of sport on value development. So it would be a good idea to stick to these three umbrella values: excellent, friendship, and respect, and leave it to the individual to maybe collect some subordinate values under these umbrella values. But it's very clear that values determine the nature of Olympic education. What is Olympic education? I think we can refer to the Olympic Charter here on the slide. You see the latest edition of the Olympic Charter with the new headquarters of the International Olympic Committee, based on the Olympic Charter and the educational tasks that are formulated in the Olympic Charter. We can refer to paragraph 1, 2, and 4, and it's very vital to understand that Olympic education can be seen as a life world orientation primarily. But what is the nature of Olympic education? First, we have to acknowledge that Pierre de Coubertin did not use the term Olympic education. He was using the term sport education, or education by or through sport. The term Olympic education itself became popular and was introduced to our academic community or to the physical education community in the mid-1970s by Professor Dr. Norbert Müller. Since then, Müller and some of his colleagues, such as Omo Gruppe, has analyzed the concept of Olympic education. But of course, this is not only numerous other scholars contributed to define the concept of Olympic education, to expand to the concept of Olympic education. So we can refer to the concepts by Jana Binder from the United States, or Sanada from Tsukuba University. I saw him on the program as well, and he's an excellent speaker. Or concepts analyzed by Ian Copeland from Canterbury University of New Zealand. So a lot of concepts are available, which is on one side very good to give us a clear orientation, but sometimes we have to be selective and make a good choice for one concept. Now we have to ask, I think, ladies and gentlemen, what makes an education an Olympic one? What is the nature of Olympic education? I think it is, as I said before, it is the individual strive for improvement in sport while maintaining respect for fair play and also transcultural tolerance. So this mutual understanding to respect the habits, the customs of other nations. And of course, Olympic education stresses a holistic approach. This was very potent for Coubertin, and still coins a major element, a very important element in Olympic education. And third, bringing forth the fact that the mind and body are a unit. Yes, this is meant by a holistic approach, which must be developed in a balanced way. And as such, Olympic education definitely points to the danger of over specialization of one at the consequence of the other. It is very important to link with Olympic education. There are some basic considerations with which I want to finish my first part before I'm coming to the Olympic factories. The Olympic idea is educational, yes, but we have to keep in mind that but only if there's an awareness about its educational intentions. And I think I have become clear with the educational intentions. Olympic sport is only a part of the world of sport. It is a very important part, it is a prominent part, but it is only one part, which makes it also unique in some way. And if you follow the principles of Olympism, such as fair play, cultural importance of sport, and the importance of transnational understanding and so on, any sporting activity can support further education. Olympic education, as I said, is holistic, but it is not the entire education. It is, yes, Olympic education can make a significant contribution to the education of the citizen, or and by this to the healthy development of societies across the globe. But it is one part of education, and Olympism needs to be extended continuously. And this is what is so important for me as director of an Olympic Studies Center on the academic level, but also as president of the International Pierre de Coubertin Committee. Yes, Coubertin is the founder of the modern Olympic movement, but what is needed is a contemporary reading of Coubertin, and we have to transfer his ideas to today's world of sport, and this is possible, and the International Pierre de Coubertin Committee is dealing with this, but I will come back later to this. Here, Olympism needs to be adapted to the respective situation in which it is used. And of course, the realization of Olympism requires a lot of effort, and ladies and gentlemen, here this international webinar is clearly one of these efforts, and once again, I really want to appreciate this effort, and it will make a significant contribution to the dissemination of Olympism in India, with the help of the NOC in India, but also with the help and the support of the Indian Pierre de Coubertin Association, which has been set up and which is really active. So you're doing a lot of efforts, and this is simply brilliant. Some final considerations. Yes, Olympic education is a cornerstone of Olympism. The dissemination of Olympic education by Olympic ambassadors is really, really needed. But what are these Olympic ambassadors? Ambassadors, we can have athletes, coaches, sport officials, professors, teachers, sorry for spelling mistake, and students. Yes, they can disseminate the Olympic values. Then they can be ambassadors of Olympic education. But we have to keep in mind that we have to educate, we have to train these Olympic ambassadors. And there are numerous institutions which can do this. So we have, for example, the NOAs, the National Olympic Academies. We have the very famous International Olympic Academy in Olympia, Greece. We have seminars. We have National Pierre de Coubertin committees, and like the Indian Pierre de Coubertin Association. But we also have Olympic study centers at the academic level, and we have the International Pierre de Coubertin Committee. And I want to give you an overview on both, if this is okay for you. Olympic Studies Centers. Olympic Studies Centers are definitely an important link between the Olympic and academic worlds. It is a connection dating back to the first Olympic Congress, which was held at Sorbonne in 1894, so the foundation Congress of the Olympic movement. But speeches were delivered at this Congress on the education value of sport and what education institutions can do to disseminate this education value of sport. And of course, there's the education academic role of the Olympic movement is also emphasized in recommendations of the Olympic agenda. So what we have to do, we have to try to bring these worlds, the Olympic world and the academic world, closer together, and there are a lot of initiatives in place to do this and to succeed in this effort. And once again, your webinar here, your international webinar on Olympic education, on Olympism, is a significant contribution to bring these two worlds closer together. I'm often asked what is the difference between an Olympic Studies Center and an Olympic Academy. I think we have to be very clear in this. Both institutions must be highly valued, but we have if we go to the institutional level, it's clearly said that it is attached to and administered by a university, an Olympic Studies Center. An Olympic Academy is often linked to a national Olympic committee. The target groups for an Olympic Studies Center are students, researchers, professionals aiming for a degree, whereas at the side of the Olympic Academy, it's various groups, including pupils, teachers, or more or less the general public. Aims and visions, it is Olympic Studies Center is research-led. There's the creation, the editing of material and critical reflection in a very objective way. And the aim of the Olympic Academy of Olympic Academies is to spread the Olympic idea in terms of awarding the awarding of degrees. We can say that Olympic Study Centers, because they are attached to a university, they have the authority to award a university degree, a full university degree. This is not the case on the side of the Olympic Academies. They can deliver certificates, but not fully recognized university degrees. The approach of an Olympic Study Center is long-term, interdisciplinary and international, and with Olympic Academies it's often based on the national level. Olympic Study Centers but I think despite these differences, there is an important overlap which can trigger possibilities for synergies, which can trigger possibilities for a good collaboration, and we have to support, we have to strengthen this collaboration. So consequently, Olympic Study Centers are feeders for the Olympic Academies in terms of educating and training staff members, providing and creating valuable resources, and strengthening international cooperation. This is here the chart of the organigram of the Olympic Study Center of the German Sport University Cologne. So as the classical Greek temple, we have 4 columns, we have 4 pillars, 2 with research and teaching. There we have the Olympic Research Center, the Olympic Teaching Center, and the Olympic Advice Center, the Olympic Consultancy Center. And on the documentation information side, we have our archival system. And I want to give you some examples here for this. Here, this is our documentation center. We have more than 2 million sport historical documents, and including around 80,000 photos. We have a clear outreach policy. We are using these documents to publish a lot of books and articles and edited books on the Olympic Games, on the Olympic movement, but also on the links of the German Sport University Cologne with the Olympic movement, with the IOC or with the International Olympic Academy. The clear strength is our research and teaching unit. Research by staff members of the Olympic Studies Center is multi and interdisciplinary, including research on Pierre de Coubertin, as I said, a modern reading of Coubertin's Olympic idea, then the anti-doping within the Olympic movement, politics and the Olympic movement, sports for all in the Olympic movement, but also very important historical foundations and contemporary concepts of Olympic education. And one of the latest research projects is on the IOC's athletes commission. You all know that athletes are playing a very important role also in the Olympic agenda. It's always said athletes are at the heart of the Olympic movement, which is definitely correct. And the IOC's athletes commission, which was set up in 1981, is playing a major role in this. Some publications. The latest one is Dark Sides of Sport, Destination Olympia. This is a little bit on the connection between the German Sport University Cologne and the International Olympic Academy. I know that you're all familiar with this famous place in ancient Greece. Olympic perspectives, and important to know is that we are doing all these publications in collaboration with other Olympic study centers. For example, with here Olympic perspectives with the Olympic Studies Center at the University of Ontario in Canada, the South African Journal for Research in Sport with a special issue on the Olympic movement with the Olympic Studies Center in South Africa at Johannesburg University. By the way, the Olympic Studies Center of the GSU has helped to set this up, and we're publishing together with the Olympic Studies Center of the Autonomous University in Barcelona, Spain, and the Olympic Studies Center in New Zealand, this e-journal Diagoras. Now, of course, there's also some good PhD students who are doing their research at the Olympic Studies Center of the German Sport University Cologne, all of them on an Olympic topic, and then most of them have already graduated, and we could support them in their academic career. As I said, we are doing these collaborations or this work in teaching and so on in collaboration with other Olympic Studies Centers, such as the one of the University of Johannesburg, or together with the International Pierre de Coubertin Committee. Here are two examples. For example, with the CIPC, we have organized a conference in Lausanne 6 years ago, but that was a very prominent organization. But we are doing other conferences and workshops with the CIPC as well. And here there was another, just an example, workshop or congress which we have done in collaboration with the University of Johannesburg. We did a workshop there with the topic at the University of Johannesburg in South Africa, with a clear focus on Olympic education for teachers, for sport officials, for sport people who are involved in administration. So this was with a clear focus on Olympic education. This was a really successful workshop. Teaching itself at the German Sport University Cologne, we have Olympic studies across all study programs offered at the German Sport University Cologne, and in total we are offering 7 BA, BSc programs, 10 full-time master programs across all disciplines, and we succeeded in having teaching units and seminars and lectures in almost all of these study programs. Very famous one is the MA International Sports Development and Politics. I'm co-director of this full-time program with a lot of teaching units on Olympic education. For example, the overall topics which we are addressing is the Olympic movement and processes of continuity and transformation. And then we, in a second block with this, a lot of teaching hours, we are talking about the Olympic system, the world governance of sport, and of course we have a lot of teaching units on Olympic education in both theory and practice. Well, our biggest project and probably most successful project is the MA Olympic Studies. This is an international part-time program which is supported by the International Olympic Committee. It has developed a really good reputation, academic reputation on the international level. I'm always happy to have 2 participants from India on this program, as I'm first I have to name the General Secretary of the Pierre de Coubertin, or Indian Pierre de Coubertin Association, Mrs. Lakra, and then of course Dr. Omar Singh, who is also a very good participant on this program here. So the program is the central intention of the program are to spread, disseminate interdisciplinary knowledge on the Olympic movement, multidisciplinary knowledge on the Olympic movement, and to teach, to train what I'm referring to as the Olympic ambassadors. It is the Olympic Studies Center of the German Sport University Cologne is on the main operational management level, because we set up the program in collaboration with Professor Norbert Müller, but we are delivering the program in collaboration with other universities, for example with the university or with the Olympic Studies Center of the Autonomous University of Barcelona, or with the Olympic Studies Center of the University of Canterbury in New Zealand. These are the modules here. You see here, I do not go into detail in each program, but it is interdisciplinary, and it's good. So we are addressing international relations, Olympic Games, but we are also addressing ethics, values, and Olympic education. And this is what is so appreciated by the IOC, that it is an interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary program, which allows, and it is a part-time program, so you can stay in your job. Some classes are online, but there are teaching units, intensive teaching weeks spread over 2 years, and so yes, it is a good way to train and to enhance the knowledge of Olympic ambassadors. Here you see on that statistics that the popularity of the program is really growing. We do not accept more than 25, 27 students, just in order to have to create a good teaching and learning atmosphere. The 7th intake, here you see the international, the internationality of the program. Basically, we have participants coming from all over the world. This is the 7th intake, and as I said, I'm very proud and to have also 2 participants from India here who are really active in the dissemination of Olympic values and Olympic education in India. Sorry, I've just received a message from Mr. Sakra, and everything seems to be okay. So this is here this international map, and I would be more than happy to welcome more participants from India on the program. And as I said, it is highly acknowledged by the IOC and our So our major institutional partners from the side of the IOC. We have the Foundation for Culture and Olympic. Here you see this is this also IOC recognized organization, and this institute and the institutional uniqueness of the Pierre de Coubertin committee is coined by setting up inter-institutional synergies like Pierre de Coubertin schools, Pierre de Coubertin committees, such as the Indian Pierre de Coubertin Association. That's doing a wonderful job. The IOC, universities and Olympic Studies Centers, and of course the International Olympic Academy. Feel free to visit our new and completely new website, www.coubertin.org. Yes, we are doing a lot of collaborations here, and with on the national level and the international level. I just want to strengthen that we are aiming to collaborate, to strengthen the collaboration with the national Pierre de Coubertin committees. We have done this with a lot of Pierre de Coubertin committees, such as in Japan or within Brazil or in Latin America, and it would be brilliant to become more active and to develop a closer collaboration with the Olympic Studies Center with the Pierre de Coubertin committee in India. I know you already attended our General Assembly and you always deliver wonderful contributions, and these presentations are very impressive, and we can see that you're really active. But it's our aim to create more synergies with you. And here, this is the Pierre de Coubertin Forum in Macon last year. The motto was Olympism at school, it must be encouraged, and I was particularly proud to welcome also a delegation from India here. I think you did really well in this youth forum, and and I can only hope that you go on with your initiatives, that we can start a fruitful collaboration on the side of the Olympic Studies Center and the side of the International Pierre de Coubertin Committee, and that we can try to get our synergies to strengthen Olympic education, Olympism in India. And maybe this was the first step, and for me this would be a pleasure to collaborate with you both in my function as President of the International Pierre de Coubertin Committee and also as President of the Director of the Olympic Studies Center of the German Sport University Cologne. Let me finish off with saying once more, congratulations for this initiative. Congratulations for having found the Committee on Olympic Education, and I wish you every success for the next days. And I hope that we can keep in touch. And I finish off with saying thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
I see one question that has come in. This is Professor Sudhir Kumar Sharma, who's the Dean of Academics at SGSU, who's asked us a question. It's a very pertinent question, and he says, do you have any plan for Olympic education in India through sports universities? Dr. Sudhir Kumar Sharma is asking this question. And maybe Dr. Rakesh Gupta, you can also chip in while answering this question in case it's more relevant for you.
I would be more than happy to answer this very good questions. Yes, I think we started to think about to develop strategies to implement plans on Olympic education through sport universities. We started the conversation with our experience and expertise to help set up Olympic Studies centers based at the university level in India. As I said, we have done this with the Olympic Studies Center at the University of Johannesburg in South Africa. We worked from them on a consultancy basis for 3 years, and we helped them to establish a center to come up with teaching concepts, with workshops, and so on. And now the center is working with, and it's not only a center for South Africa. It is the Olympic Studies Center on the African continent. Yeah, and in close collaboration with a lot of IOC members, and yeah, it is a great initiative. And as I said, we have the Olympic Studies Center is one of the most active centers at the moment, which is also acknowledged by the IOC with the master program and so on and so forth. And we would be welcome to have participants from India on the program MA Olympic Studies in order to educate, or no, not educate, they're all educated, but in order to train them, to help them to develop into good Olympic ambassadors.